Good morning. Hope everyone had a productive, eventful weekend. I think when the weather is good, it typically lubricates sales a little bit. So hopefully you're out showing and wrote a lot of offers and received a lot of offers. So I looked over KDNA numbers, and you guys are doing a great job on the listing contest. So keep up the good work. Today we're going to recap what we talked about a little bit last week. We're also going to talk about pricing before the holidays and some time-sensitive things that you need to prepare your clients for. And then also chat a little bit about your SOI dialogue. This is also a bit of a recap from last week, but some dialogues that are important for your clients to think about. And when you're on the phone with your sphere of influence and your past clients, how do you emphasize that credibility that's going to generate the referrals that drives your business? Because we know it's the past clients and sphere of influence and that are within your geographic farm and your overall sphere that will be your most profitable business. It's always historically and statistically your most profitable business. First, let's go through some of the KDNA numbers. So we have a lot to cover being the last 2 weeks. KDNA numbers, it looks like, I'll first look at October 6th through the 12th. And we had some very strong numbers that week, especially on your trainings attended. It looks like Rose and Jesse had attended 5 hours of trainings, Kathy Crow 4 hours of training. And then for metric number 2, for your hours of script practice, it looks like Amanda had 4 hours of script practice, Kathy Crow 2 hours, Rose and Jesse 2 hours, and Jill Bell 2 hours, and Barbara 2 hours. So one of the things I want to emphasize about your script practice is that the scripts, the Mike Ferry scripts, the Waller Group scripts that you have, that's like brushing your teeth. Keep in mind, guys, this is basic stuff. You have to internalize these scripts to where they just come naturally. If you are role playing and that it appears that you're reading it or it appears to be a script, then you're not, your credibility and your sales will not convert at the level that they need to. That needs to just come automatically at top of mind whenever you are going through, when you're role playing or when you're on an appointment. Then those questions, because these are questions-based scripts, need to just be top of mind. Because that you don't think about squeezing the tube of toothpaste, you don't think about applying it each time you brush your teeth. When you're in front of a client and when you're role playing, you should be thinking at a higher level. You should be thinking about some market stats. You should be thinking about what's going on, time-sensitive issues, some of these other things we're going to talk about, because your basics are already in place. Those questions just come as second nature. So keep in mind, when you're role-playing and when you're practicing your scripts and dialogue, that is something that sometimes it takes months and months to practice those to where they are internalized. So keep that in mind. Okay, number of two-way contacts. It looks like our contacts were averaging about 30 contacts per agent. Kathy Crow made a lot of contacts. Frederick made a lot of contacts. Jill Bell made 50 contacts. But generally, especially as a new licensee, you're going to have between 80 and 100 contacts a week to meet your income goals for next year. Now, keep in mind, it's going to take between 80 and 100, 80 to 120. That's a broad range, but it depends on your skill level of people that you're talking to before you have a listing appointment. And that is, those listing appointments, a lot of those are going to come from referrals. So what you're saying in that sphere of influence and the people that you're talking to is real important. We're going to chat a little bit more about that. Number of hours previewing. Just a reminder, your previewing should be in your geo farm. It should be in the area that you have expertise in. So if you're previewing for a buyer that's in an area that you're not familiar with, then that's fine. You're doing a good service for that buyer. But for your long-term goals, our KDNA is really to track our long-term goals to keep us consistent with our business plan goals for next year. So previewing for a buyer in a market outside of your area does not contribute or help you towards your long-term goals. So previewing in the sense of a KDNA is within your geographic farm and within your area of expertise. So make sure you keep that in mind. And previewing is primarily to compare listing inventories. So that way you speak with more knowledge and authority and confidence when you're speaking to for sale by owners and others in your geographic farm and areas of expertise. Number of new prospects, metric number 8. So we had Tammy Bennett had 9 new prospects for week before last. Kathy had 31 new prospects. Kathy has large numbers because she speaks to groups, and a lot of these are groups that she's working with. I think she had close to 40 people come to her investor lunch last week, and she's consistently has between 30 and 50 people at different groups that she speaks at. Jill Bell, five new prospects. Great job. Ashton, 3 new prospects, and Barbara, 6 new prospects. Number of buyer appointments held and number of agreements. Now keep in mind the buyer appointments held to your number of buyer rep agreements taken. This is to give us an idea of how strong are your buyer counseling skills in getting that buyer rep agreement signed. So any objections to signing that buyer rep agreement should be flushed out in that buyer counseling session. And a lot of times this is going to vary whether it's a first-time home buyer, a new buyer, or whether it's a recurring move-up buyer. So keep that in mind with your numbers. Now, most important, here we are on the listing contest, your number of listing appointments to number of listings taken. Something that is, if it's a referral, and if it is from your sphere of influence, a personal referral, or someone that you know, your conversion rate on that should be really 90 to 100%. There should be no reason why you're not getting that listing. Where the numbers are more, I shouldn't say more important, but we look closer at your numbers is when it's a for sale by owner, when it's an expired listing, when it's someone that's not referred to you. These are the most challenging sellers, and these are the most difficult listings to convert, but this is where you really build your skill. If you're building your skill on those for sale by owners and on expired listings, whether they're old expired listings or whether it's through other prospecting that we have, through the probates, through divorces, through door knocking, your geofarm, then those are much more difficult to convert, but your expectations that you set with that seller and your presentation skills are going to be critical as to your conversion ratio. So for new licensees, it's about a 50-50 shot at that. About 50% of those typically are converting. As you build your skill set on expireds and FSBOs and even those that are not referred, then your conversion rate will move closer to 80%, 85% on those appointments. Another thing is, as our average sales price moves up, you will be competing on more listings, whether it's a referral or not. If you're working in the luxury market, if you're in a higher price point, then generally you're going to be competing. Many of those sellers are going to interview 2 to 3 listing agents before they make a decision. So it gets very competitive with commission. It gets very competitive with your marketing presentation, your marketing plan. So that's where, as you're moving up on your list price, want to make sure you're also increasing your skill set, and your marketing plan is parallel to that. So we have more and more emphasis on our marketing, our marketing plan. We'll talk about that more in tomorrow's sales meeting as far as some of our marketing and the direction that we're moving on that to help you guys. Number of sales open, number of sales closed, and total GCI. So for, I'm getting ahead of myself. For listings taken, October 6th through the 12th, we had 6 listings taken for the firm. Good job, guys. It looks like Claudia took 1, Amanda took a listing, Tammy took a listing, Wesley took 2 listings, and Jill Bell took a listing. So fantastic. Kudos to you guys. That was October 6th through the 12th. Now let's take a look at last week's listings. You guys took 3 listings last week. Claudia took another listing, and Corey took a listing, and Wesley took another listing. Wesley is on fire. Fantastic. So those presentations, it looks like each of you went on a pre-listing presentation. A lot of you went on pre-listing presentations before taking those listings. So kudos on your listings. Just as a reminder on what that listing contest at the end of the year is, $2,500 marketing credit or all expense trip paid to San Diego for the Mike Frey production retreat. And that's San Diego, January 27th through 29th. So that would be all expense paid is airfare and flight and some meals. So to do that, really, if you're focused on 1 listing appointment a week and close to 100 contacts a week, then you should be able to generate that. Another thing I want to talk about is just our stats, the September sales stats. One of the things that, as you guys are going on more listing appointments, it's very empowering if you have information that is enlightening or that really does inform your seller. So some of probably the most powerful information in this market to inform your sellers would be how many properties are selling a month in their price point. So there again, when you're in the higher price point, this is going to become more and more important. People are reading the news and the paper about generic information in certain markets, whether that be Frisco or Plano or Park Cities or Uptown, but they're not necessarily reading, or there's not very much information published about what price point. So make sure that you're breaking it down for your seller on that listing presentation. If it's an $800 to $1 million property and buyers are going to be searching between 800 and million, how many of those properties in that market area, whether that's city or wherever those typical buyers are searching, are selling a month? If it's only 2 or 3 sales a month and you have 20 homes on the market that you're competing with, then guys, that's 6 months inventory. So 6 months inventory is not necessarily a hot market. That's a very balanced market. So what's going to cause their home to sell to be one of the 3 sales next month? That's what you have to ask yourself when you're on that listing presentation. That's what you have to ask your seller when you're on that listing presentation. And you have to know your inventory and know your competition. What are those other homes that are on the market that are most competitive with theirs? And that's where your previewing really comes in. It's very powerful, and it's very empowering when you're on those listing presentations and you can say with authority what those other homes look like. So make sure that you're previewing when you're going on those listing presentations. Another thing, just as a reminder, on holiday pricing, we basically have 4 weeks left before the Thanksgiving holidays. What I've noticed is about a week before Thanksgiving, people's minds get to be where it's on the holidays, and whether it's your seller or whether it's your buyer. So make sure that this is the week that you're focused on price reductions, and you let them know that you have 3 to 4 weeks of strong buyer inventory before the Thanksgiving holidays, and we want to make sure that your home is priced properly where the fish are fishing to generate offers before Thanksgiving. So seasonality is something that's very important that a lot of realtors, a lot of agents don't really put enough emphasis on seasonality like they should. So we're still in a very strong seller's market. There's a lot of buyers out there. There's very little inventory. But make sure that your sellers, if you have any sellers that there could just be a slight price reduction, make sure that you're calling them and letting them know, now's a good time for us to adjust the price. You're reducing the price sometimes is not the best terminology. Let's make a price adjustment. Let's relaunch our marketing plan. And if you are going to the effort to relaunch your entire marketing plan, then that's another, it makes it a little bit less of a blow for that seller when they're lowering that price. So the way you handle that terminology is real important with your sellers. Also, the new listings that you have that are on the fence that are coming up. I think I mentioned this last week, but there's fewer buyers that are looking in the holidays in that Thanksgiving and Christmas period, but there's also much, much less inventory. So there again, show them the numbers, how much inventory is down in the last year. I thought I would just go through some of these numbers. I was looking at this morning, and it was really staggering how the city of Dallas, the numbers are up as far as median price by double digits, almost all the way through the city. So Addison and North Dallas, the median price is up 20% from September of last year. In East Dallas, the price is up 23% from this time last year. Southeast Dallas, the median price is up 37% from this time last year, and Oak Cliff is up 48%, almost 50% median price increase in Oak Cliff in September of 2014 versus September 2013. Guys, that's powerful information that you need to get out there and let them know. Remember, change creates opportunity. When you can identify that kind of change in the market, you can create opportunity, listing opportunities for you, but you've got to get on the phone. You have to get the word out what's going on. The suburbs, of course, are also strong. Garland is very strong, and Irving is very strong. Garland, 15% median sales price increase, and Irving, 19% median sales price increase. So when it comes to McKinney, Prosper, and Frisco, McKinney sales were actually down 8% from this time last year. Frisco sales were down 2% from this time last year. Guys, that's really interesting. So when you see something like that that may be different than what the media is portraying, then ask yourself, why is that? Why are they down? One of the things that you have to keep in mind The suburbs, especially the northern suburbs, there's a lot of new construction. So new construction drives a lot of that market, and a lot of that is not reported in MLS. So are you finding out what the builders are selling out there? Are you previewing that inventory? Do you know the competition? Because if it's not showing up in here, but yet you know there's a lot of new construction inventory that's competing, then learn that market. Also, are you informing your sellers when they are in that price point that's competing with new construction? The new construction competition is stiff, and the price points, especially the higher price points between 500 and 850. It's a softer market in McKinney and Plano, McKinney and Frisco than what it was a couple of years ago, because there's more new construction that's competing in that market. Prosper was interesting. Prosper, the median sales price is up 17%, and sales were up 9%, and the average price up 14%. So look at your MLS numbers. Keep in mind, this is the monthly numbers. For you to get very accurate data, if there's not enough sales in your MLS area or in your neighborhood, then go back 90 days. You can crunch the numbers yourself, the same thing that's on these reports, and go back 90 days. And then you have great material. You have a great arsenal to get on the phone with your geographic area, geographic farm, your sphere of influence, and past clients. So that's real powerful. I like to keep my data in my folder everywhere I go, because the more you reference it, the more you review it, and the more you talk about it, then the more confident and the more empowering it is when you're with your sphere of influence, past clients, and other business owners, whether you're at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, whether you're with others that are in your local area, you can speak with much more authority. Okay, so KDNA wins last week. Wes, 3 new listings, 1 closing, fantastic job. Claudia, a new listing. Angela, Cressini, a new listing. Kudos to Angie. Tammy, a new listing, and then 250 I have a buyer flyers went out. Oh, Tammy also put out 250 I have a buyer flyer and picked up a new buyer. So good job. Sarah Jones had a closing. Kathy Crow had a closing, and Kathy also had 54 voice-to-voice contacts. And Parham, 1 closing, posted picture of house and clients on Facebook, received 158 likes and 28 comments. So guys, think about this on Facebook and on your sphere of influence marketing, how sometimes you can keep in mind your metric number 5 on your KDNA. That is what we consider, it can be any engagement. So it doesn't have to be a voice to voice, which we may have renamed this. I don't know. I know we were talking about renaming this to where it's an engagement, it's a dialogue. So whether it's a text dialogue or whether it's a comment on Facebook, then that is still something that would count. So when you can get 28 comments from posting 1 post, think about that. So make sure, another thing, you're just listed and just sold, that also conveys credibility. So the more that is on Facebook and the more that's exposed to your sphere of influence, and they're seeing that you're selling, and they're seeing that you're listing, they're seeing that you know the market, they're seeing that you're conveying dialogues of value that's relative to what's going on in their local market area, then that keeps you top of mind. So get creative with that and think about how you're always conveying that credibility and being top of market. Reminder for tomorrow's sales meeting at 11:15, and then lunch following that. Kathy Crow is going to give a demonstration on not zip forms, but how you can use I think zip forms on your iPad. So it's an iPad demonstration. And then we're going to go over, of course, listing role play and strong listing presentations. So I appreciate in advance your participation on that, and look forward to learning a lot tomorrow. And if you have any questions or anything that you'd like covered in tomorrow's meeting, please message, email myself or Richard, or give us a call, so that way we can have more for you in tomorrow's meeting. Also, one other reminder on the surveys. I think the surveys went out last week on how well we're doing for you, and some things that we're trying to get a better gauge on, what's working, what's not working, and some things of value for you guys. So we may, depending on how many of those surveys we have back, we may discuss some of that tomorrow. All right, have a productive weekend. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.